I'm Jamie, and this is Book Tease, a podcast that celebrates the power of well-written smut. We are going to continue our Types of Love series for February by diving into queer love. And I'm so excited about this week. I have been waiting because I am talking about a book that is arguably one of the hottest at the moment. It is totally having its moment. And it is Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid. It is book 2 in the Game Changer series. And I went into this one totally blind, and I'm so glad I did. So I knew that there was a show, a new one on HBO that everyone was wanting to talk about. And some of my favorite podcasts were covering it. And I was like, okay, I'm the type that if there's a book or a movie if there's a movie or a TV show that I'm super excited about, and I know it's based on a book that I would likely enjoy, like a romance book, then I'm going to read the book first. Because I am largely in the camp of the book did it better. And I'd like to go into that knowing like how to compare when I watch the show or the movie. The book follows Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov. They are two hockey players who are kind of the rising stars coming up in the pros. I mean, you know they're going to go pro. They're like the most watched at the moment. And they meet each other at the Junior Olympics. So they're both amazing hockey players. They both will undoubtedly go pro. They are both like the number one draft pick of their time. They're actually vying for number one. They are neck and neck with it. Ilya is Russian and Shane is Canadian. So there is a little tiny bit of a language barrier with Ilya. Not enough to like cause a scene, but enough that when Shane introduces himself, because he's heard of Ilya. He knew this is the other guy who's vying for number one. I know who he is. So he goes and introduces himself at the Junior Olympics, and he comes away thinking this guy's kind of an ass because Ilya is super prickly, and he also doesn't understand all English, like a whole lot of English. He knows enough. He's learning it. It just takes him a second to really get out his words or to convey exactly what he's meaning because Russian is his primary language. That's where he's from. So especially at this moment in the book, he learns it more as as the book goes on, he becomes quite fluent and adept. But at this point, he's incredibly prickly. He's in a country that's not his. He's speaking a language that's not his native. And he's had a rough upbringing. So he is just a very prickly, masculine guy. Anyway. So Shane walks away with, okay, that guy's an ass. He's kind of rude and he's not supposed to be smoking because Shane is very much a by the book, a little uptight, goody two shoes type. Like, I'm not breaking rules and I'm going to, do everything the correct polished way. And that's not Ilya. Ilya's always pushing boundaries. So that's the setup at the Junior Olympics. Then the book picks up the next time that they meet. That's how this book is structured. It's constantly leaping in the timeline to just moments that are important to them and their story. It doesn't follow and then this happened, and it doesn't follow one person throughout. It just constantly jumps. So it tells you, and now we are a year in the future or however long, and they're being drafted. The night of the draft, they end up at the same gym because neither one of them can sleep for different reasons. They end up at the gym at the same time, and they end up getting into a treadmill war, like a treadmill battle, because they're just kind of there's a tension and Shane is honestly, let's call it, he's a little repressed, Shane is. So he kind of got this inner dialogue where he's catching himself looking at Ilya Ilya more than he ought to. And he's watching him drink water. And he's just like, he's having a queer sexual awakening because he's like, I should not feel this type of way. Like, he's very confused by his feelings. Meanwhile, Ilya fully embraces that he's bisexual. And, he knows enough to kind of egg it on. He's like, you want a sip of my water? Stuff like that. So this gets Shane thinking. And it also plants a little seed in Ilya where he's like, I kind of know what's up with him, but I'm not going to call it out at the moment. Well, now they're drafting, and they're, like I said, at rival teams. And they end up, because they're both top of the league, they end up at the same, or on the same ad campaign. So they're shooting all day at this ad campaign, and they're having to do all this silly stuff, like, act like they're, I don't know hockey. They're pucking against each other or whatever. They're doing that. And then they have to like stand off against each other. They're constantly in each other's face. Just like this, just like the book cover shows. They're doing that. And then they end up afterwards in the communal showers. Well, Shane catches himself checking out Ilya's ass. And then he's having this whole inner dialogue about, I shouldn't be looking at another man's ass, but it's a really nice ass, but I shouldn't be looking. Why? Why am I even noticing this? I mean, like, he's having this whole moment to himself. Meanwhile, Ilya's smirking, and he's like washing himself extra slowly and just egging it on because he knows. He knows what's up. And then he comes and he tells him, what's your room number? I might show up later. Like he's basically saying without saying, I'm also interested and I'll come and visit you. I'll see where this goes. We can hook up. Well, Shane gives him his room number, and they start this, what he thought might be a one-time only hookup. It turns into several years of hooking up. And they keep it in secret. And the timeline in the book just jumps to each hookup. It's like 6 months. Now they happen to be in the same city. This many months and they're in the same city. I mean, it's just anytime they either are in the same city or they are competing against each other or anything like that, they find a way to get together and hook up. They're keeping it secret, and they're keeping it secret for several reasons. One, let's start with the scariest reason. It's because in Russia, it's pretty much illegal to be gay. And so Ilya, who is bisexual, he loves women and he loves men. And he's any relationships he's had with men, he's kept it totally secret. He has been very, very careful because it is a dangerous thing to be gay in Russia. And he still goes back to Russia every summer to visit his family. His family relies on him. His family also treats him like a bank. They're so disrespectful to him, and they put pressure on him to take care of everything. His father is completely domineering. He's belittling. He is not a nice man, and his mother is gone. She's dead. So, I mean, poor Ilya is he's under a lot of pressure, and he does not need added pressure of potentially putting himself in danger when he goes home during the summer to take care of his family. And his father's also has dementia and he's sick. So he's got a lot on his plate without adding that to it. Also, Shane's not ready to admit that he's gay or bisexual or anything. He's not ready to admit it. He's just like, oh, this is a Ilya only thing. So there's that. Added to that, it would be detrimental to their careers. They are pitted as rivals. It is part of their whole brand. If it comes out that not only, and let's not forget, being queer is not a big thing in it's not a thing that people come out as or do in hockey. Hockey is a very masculine sport. It's just one of those, like football. It's a rough sport. And you don't have men coming out as gay that are in that sport. So that's an issue, as well as their whole branding is that they're rivals. So to one, come out as gay as a hockey player, and two, come out as in a relationship with your rival, it would really it would mess up their careers, and it's a definite risk. So one that they're not ready to take, especially for this relationship where they're hooking up a couple of times a year. So the story just jumps forward quite a bit, and you could tell that they're keeping it secret, and you can gradually see, as you see these hookups, that the walls are starting to come down. They're starting to trust each other. They're actually starting to have feelings other than just, this is a hookup. I love how it shows this progression through several years. Having a friends with benefits at first, it's fun, right? And then you start building a trust with this person. It starts becoming someone that you care about and that you rely on. And there's a depth of feeling that starts to grow. If you let your guard down with this person, it becomes more than just physical. And you could see that progression with their relationship. It starts to become as more than just physical. Throughout the book, they admire things in each other that they feel like they're lacking in themselves. Shane really admires that Ilya is masculine, and he's cool, and he knows himself, and he's okay with breaking rules. And Ilya really admires that Shane is so smart, and he's so perfect, and he's so polished. And that's something that Ilya feels like he's always lacking. His father's always telling him how imperfect he is and everything he fucks up on. And just look at Shane and his wonderful home life, and his parents love him so much, and they're so supportive of him. That's something that Ilya really admires, and it would be so easy for him to envy that, but instead, because it's Shane, he admires it. And I think that's a really beautiful distinction there that they show in their relationship. Eventually, as they're going through this timeline, some things start to happen that really kind of acts as a catalyst to spurring their relationship on, one of which is Ilya's father dies. His father dies, and Ilya goes to Russia for the funeral and to take care of things. And while he's there, he starts to realize, you know what, I actually really care. I really care about Shane. I may be even falling in love with him, and that scares the hell out of me. I don't know what to do, but I do know I have no reason to come to Russia anymore. I don't like coming here, and I don't like being around my family, and I don't like how they treat me, and there's no reason for me to put up with this anymore. My father is gone, my mother is gone, and he gets rid of he gives his apartment to his brother, because his brother is a huge mooch. He's always calling him up and demanding money, and it's really a horrible dynamic. And so he's like, this is my last thing I'm giving you. I'm giving you this apartment, and I wish you the best. But his last night in his apartment, he decides to call Shane via Skype. All this time they've been together, they've never had a phone call like this. They've never had a video call, or they're like, we're going to do some video sex or some phone sex, cyber sex. And it's so hilarious, cute / hot. It really, really is. That Skype call, I'm for it. In fact, I have a quote, and it's actually really, it shows their dynamic, because one thing about their relationship is they're both very competitive athletes. They're both, like top of their field. They challenge each other. They give each other shit. They have locker room talk in a way. They banter. There's not a lot of like sweet nothings and pillow talk happening. And I'm so here for that. It is such a refreshing dynamic than what I usually get in romance novels, right? Here's one that kind of shows what I'm talking about. So Sean says, "That smile haunts me." Haunts you? Like a ghost? That doesn't sound like a good thing. It is. And your eyes. I love your eyes. So romantic, Hollander. Fuck you. You ask for compliments. Are you even doing anything down there? Or am I the only one doing the work? This is during the Skype call when they're like mutually masturbating, and they're supposed to be talking dirty to each other and stuff. And Ilya wanted a compliment because he says he's always giving Shane compliments, and he is. And Shane is still like super shy, and he blushes a lot, and he still hasn't like fully come into his own as a queer man. He is still kind of nervous to talk up and compliment and say things. And so Ilya's kind of pushing him at this point. And that's his response. Your smile haunts me. And Ilya's like, haunts you like a ghost? Like, what are you talking about? Because he's still stumbling a little with his Russian. He's like, that's not a word I've heard, while Shane's trying to be poetic. And it just really shows their dynamic. So that happens. And then Ilya comes back from Russia, and he's already he's given his apartment away, and he's decided that he's not going back to Russia. So he already knows that's what he's going to do. So he starts to pull away just a little bit because he's like, man, I know this would not be good for our, while I'm not planning to go back to Russia, this is still would not be good for our careers and for our reputations. And he really doesn't think Shane's gonna go for it. He's like, I've got these feelings, but he doesn't know how Shane feels. So their walls have come down somewhat, but they haven't come down completely. And Ilya doesn't want to get rejected. He doesn't want to admit he has these feelings for someone and then it get thrown in his face. So he starts to pull back a little bit. And then comes the huge catalyst. Shane gets injured during a game where they're playing each other. So he's right there. Ilya's right there on the ice and he sees it. Shane gets taken out. He gets a concussion. And Ilya's like, oh my God, and he's so worried. He's seen, you're in hockey. It's a dangerous sport. He's seen people get severely hurt and he doesn't know how bad it is. And he also knows he's not in the position where he can even say anything. He has to go visit Shane in the hospital like just a concerned, fellow hockey player. Like, I'm your rival and I just want to check on you. And people are like, that's weird that he's even caring enough to go to the hospital. Meanwhile, he's like, I think I love this guy and I can't even hold his hand or check on him or ask his parents to tell me, hey, he can't do anything. He's like, I can't think of a worse feeling than loving and caring about somebody and feeling like you can't do anything about it. If they get hurt, you can't even be there or stand up because y'all aren't to that point in your relationship. I mean, that is so heartbreaking. That's what happens with Ilya. And he's on the ice and he's pushing and he's like, is he okay? Tell me, is he okay? And they're like, Ilya, you need to back up. And so Shane is out of it because he got his head rocked. And he's like, tell him I'm okay, because he can hear Ilya, tell him I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, we're going to tell your dad. We're getting your dad. He's like, I'm not talking about my dad. I'm talking about Ilya, because he knows how much he cares about Ilya, but they have not taken the step of saying it to each other. They have not taken a step. So after Shane gets hurt, he's off for the rest of the season. So he's with his parents. His parents are very loving and they're taking care of him and making sure he's okay because he got so injured. And he's watching who's going to win the cup at the end of the season. And the guy who ends up winning it in front of everybody, comes out as gay by kissing his boyfriend. And they are shocked. They're like, we had no idea that he was gay, that he had a boyfriend, that, I mean, he's taken, I mean, man, he is like got the courage to do this. And it just kind of wakes up Shane and Ilya. It just like snaps them out of it. They're like, we're not the only ones. We can admit this. What are we doing? So this sparks as the last catalyst for them to finally drop the guards and admit how they feel. And so Shane tells Ilya to come to his cabin that for the upcoming summer. It's like, it's summertime, season's over. Come to my cabin. It's totally secluded. We can be together for several days. We can talk. We can, just be together and no pressure. Nobody's going to find us. It's just going to be the two of us. And let's just see what happens. So Ilya agrees and he says, I'm going to the cabin. Oh, love it. So he goes to the cabin and they just have this beautiful time together. And they see what it's like to actually sleep in the same bed and to do little domestic things like cook together. And they're giving each other shit about it. Like, Shane doesn't know how to cook and he ends up making like 8 burgers because that's how many the recipe made. And Ilya's like, why didn't you just cut the recipe in half? She's like, I don't know how to cook, man. I'm just trying to be sweet to you. And it's so cute and it's so sweet. And they just like let their guards down completely. And they're just loving being together. And it's just so beautiful. And they're kind of talking about like what they can do to like make this a thing. Because they both agree that even though they've admitted that they love each other, and even though they, want to be together, they can't be together because it would mess up their careers. So they're planning this long game of, this is what we're going to do, and then you're going to move teams, and then we're going to start a charity, and that's how everyone's going to know that we are becoming friends and we're not rivals anymore. And then once that happens, eventually one of us will retire, and then we can just be together. And then if people find out, it's like, oh, yeah, we fell in love while we were doing this charity, and, we reconnected after we quit playing hockey. And, like they've got this whole plan. And man, it is so heartbreaking to listen to them talk about their longing and how much they love each other and want to be together, but how they know it wouldn't be for the best for them and their careers that they've worked so hard for to be together. It's so heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but we're admitting at least to each other. So there is some forward movement there. However, whilst they're there, Shane's father drops by randomly and catches them making out. It is a hilarious scene. Oh my God. Did I die laughing? The way Ilya handled it so beautifully too, because Shane had a meltdown and he freaked smooth out. He was not quite ready to come out to his parents yet. He was working up to that, and now he has no choice. So, yeah. And then Ilya's like, well, maybe he didn't even notice. Which kind of makes Shane giggle and come out of it a little bit. And then Ilya agrees to go with him to talk to his parents. And it actually goes really, really well. They're more shocked that he's with Ilya, his rival, than they are that he's gay. They're like, oh, okay, well, we knew it was a possibility. But Ilya, really? For how long? They're like, y'all have been kind of seeing each other since rookie year? What? It's just amazing. So his parents are so sweet and supportive, and they end up kind of like, when they find out how bad Ilya's familial life is, they kind of take him in and become his second parents. And it's so heartwarming that they have a safe space. But the book ends on a kind of dissatisfying note, at least to my opinion, because they're accepted by his parents, but they're still keeping things secret. They still have to live in secret, and they still have this very intricate like plan of eventually coming out. There's even an epilogue, and it's like a year later, and all it shows is that they've only come out to a few of their very closest friends and family, and they are showing that the plan is in action and is currently working. A year later, that they have admitted that they love each other and they can't live together. They're still stealing moments, and that to me, even though there is a love story and there was a connection and it was all so beautifully done, it's still, they cannot quite be together by the end of the book. I know that there are several other books in this series, including one that is a continuation of their story. So I'm going to be reading that later because I am like fully invested at this point. And I feel like I've got to know, did they wait several years, like 10 years? Did they wait this whole time to finally like live out in the open and be free and love each other openly? I really hope that they don't go through with the whole damn plot. I hope they don't go through with the whole thing and that they just decide, you know what, we're being together, damn it all. And anyway, that's my hope. That's what I hope happens. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but it is like high up on my TBR for sure. So now let's talk about the book versus the HBO show or Crave show. I need to talk about this because first and foremost, they did a fucking amazing job. Oh my God, they did an amazing job on the show. They really did. There are some things that's different, but ultimately I landed on the majority of their choices, their changes actually really worked for the show. One thing that they did that was super interesting, and again, I jumped straight to book 2 because I knew I wanted to watch the show. But they wove in book 1 called Game Changers. They wove that one into the television show. And the reason they did is because the guy that ended up kissing his boyfriend when he won the cup, which sparked some of their drive to move forward and actually admit how they feel about each other, that's those two characters are the primaries in book 1. So that's kind of the finishing of their relationship from book 1, which is really interesting. So I really want to read book 1 because I want to see if it ended in a dissatisfying way as well. And then now I've just learned how, I'm curious. I'm curious how it's done. I'm super interested. But they wove it in, and it's Scott and Kip, and their story is so damn delightful. Kip works at a smoothie bar, and Scott's a hockey player who knows he's gay but won't admit it because he doesn't feel safe to as a hockey player, but he's very much Kip makes he went in there, he semi-flirted with him but not really, and he got a smoothie, and then he ended up winning that game. And he is, there's a lot of athletes who are very superstitious, and if they do something and it works out, they're like, I got to do the same thing every single time. And so that it starts out like that, and then they form a relationship, and they weave that into the show, and it's so delightfully done that now I really feel like I need to read the first book. Like, I was gonna read it anyway, but now I'm like, now I really gotta read it. So thank you. I now have 2 books on my TBR. So I have way more than 2, let's be honest, but 2 that I feel like I need to read very soon. So they weave that in there, and they do it really well. And so now when the kiss happens, there's like a double point of satisfaction because you've gotten to know Kip and Scott, and you're like, oh, yay, Scott. Way to do it. Like, you did it. And then there's also when you know that that's the catalyst for Ilya and Shane to start, getting it together and admitting their feelings for each other. So it becomes a nice double whammy in the show that you didn't quite have in the book. Because if you just read book 2 like I did, you didn't even know who the hell Scott and Kip were. You didn't even know it was Kip that was getting kissed. You're just like, this Scott guy they've casually mentioned once or twice is kissing somebody, and everyone's shocked about it. So loved that. It just added an extra layer there. Another thing that's different in the show than in the book is there's a huge emphasis put on the fact that Shane is half Asian. It's mentioned in the book, but there's not a big emphasis put on it. Like, it's a point of like, it's a driving factor for why he feels like he needs to succeed and for all the pressure he puts on himself. And his mother puts that pressure on him, like, you're half Asian, you're standing up for all Asians, and you need to be the best and be polished, and you're representing everyone. Like, there's a huge emphasis put on it in the book, in the movie, in the show, that's not put on it in the book. I could see how that would be a more realistic interpretation or viewing as someone who may be a minority in a certain, in their chosen field, their chosen career. If you become so successful and you are a racial minority, then I can see how you would put it on yourself that you need to be the best because you're representing other people in your race. I could totally believe it. One huge thing that I kind of hated at first, I'm not going to lie, I had to think on this, let it permeate before I was okay with it, is Shane's mom in the show is a huge momager. I mean, she is managing his brand deals. She's like pushing him to be the best, and she's ordering him chicken or whatever, like the leanest meals at restaurant. She did not do any of that stuff in the book. She was just a sweet mom, very supportive mom who liked hockey. I hated that at first. I was like, what is up with his mom? But after I let it permeate and I kind of thought about it, I was like, you know what? We don't have all of that tension from inner dialogue. We don't have all that conflict from inner dialogue. And his mom needs to feel like a fleshed out full character in this show because there's an actress portraying her. We can't just have her like floating in the background. Like, they gave her more of a role in the show, and it actually seemed way more realistic that you would have like a parent pushing their child, like, this is your dream and this is how you do it, and like pushing them to be the best. And in the book, it seemed like it was all Shane's drive. But in the show, it's like it's his drive, his work, but he also has his mom pushing and supporting in a loving way, but still pushing. So it ended up feeling more realistic. It ended up feeling like they fleshed out her character, and it added tension that we didn't, that we lost with it being a show that they're showing us the action rather than we're hearing all the inner dialogue, and that's where the tension's coming from. So I started out not liking that, but I landed on, I totally see why they did it, and I think it played well. I think it played better with her being kind of a point of tension than just being the sweet, supportive mom that she is in the book. Okay, now I want to move to quotes, because this book had some great, great quotes. Like I mentioned, the banter is between the two is great. I love how they give each other shit. I just love it. I love the how they play up the rivalry, and I love that they're so competitive with the most ridiculous things. So I could not go without reading this. This is during the Skype call, and Ilya asked, just to set it up so it makes a little more sense. During the Skype call, it seems like Ilya, he's got feelings at this point, and he's admitted to himself anyway that he has feelings at this point. So we already know that he was asking for compliments because of the previous quote I read. But he was also curious if Shane's been with any other men, because he knows he was the first one. but they've not been exclusive. I mean, Ilya's been with men and women. I mean, like they're not exclusive. They haven't been. And for a while they were just, friends with benefits, just hooking up before they started getting all of these feelings attached. So he asks him if he's been with any other men, and Shane tells him just a few. Like, tells him kind of the story behind it. And so this is what Ilya comes up with. God, Mexico top, Hollywood blowjob guy, and me. Shane laughed. Yeah, and a bunch of disappointed women. A bunch? A few. Anyway, I'm trying to jerk off here, so... Ilya laughed. They both went back to the task at hand. Hey, Ilya said. He waggles his eyebrows playfully. Do you think you can beat me? They have a competition on who can come first. They decide to have a race, which is, I don't know, man. Like, especially when I was reading about the treadmill battle when they first met, and now this, it's like, I mean, it's like two guys that are just besties giving each other shit and making the smallest things into a competition. And honestly, it added such a layer of, humor and just of heart. It was heartwarming, honestly, like the way their relationship played, and it just seemed like they were just besties. Whether they admit it or not, it seemed like they were besties, and it's because of the random competitions, and it was just so fun. It was such an interesting dynamic, and I really enjoyed how it played. Here's a great mom moment in the book. His mom was just a sweet mom, but she also had a little sass sometimes, and Shane had a concussion, and he was just sitting there on his phone, bored as hell. The kiss had happened, and he was just like, he's on his phone. And so she walks by, and she says, you shouldn't be looking at your phone so much. It's not good for your concussion. I know, Mom, Shane snapped. She threw up her hands dramatically. Sorry for caring about the health of your brain. This was so realistic. I could see this happening now with my 5-year-old. And I'm sure it would happen if she's 15 or 25. Like, a mom is always like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. I just want the best for you. And it's so frustrating because you're like, quit harping on me. And it's like, well, I'm sorry for caring. Okay, I'm sorry that my baby got a concussion and I don't want your brain to hurt. That's all the quotes I have, because it was just, I had to throw in some cute ones just to show the dynamic of everybody and just how fun the dialogue was in the book. I do want to touch on another point, or another thing, because I like to listen to podcasts, and I like, if I'm interested in something, I will read articles or things like that about it. This has kind of sparked a conversation about how romance novels are written primarily by women for women, even queer romance novels, even if the two primary characters are both male. That's still usually written by a woman and read largely by women. And there's been a lot of debate on whether or not this is okay, or if that's problematic, or if that's skewing things. I think it's the same as if you're writing about a country you don't live in, or you're writing about a race you aren't, or you're writing about someone with a disability you don't have. You do your research, you do it in a respectful way, and you do it with honor to that particular character and their experience. And if you do that and you have the right intent and it hits the right notes, then I think it could only be for the good. I also want to add that romance novels are kind of a way for writers and readers to explore different parts of their identity, different lifestyles, and different kinks in a safe way. Things that we might be interested in that we don't want to admit about ourselves, or that we are just curious about. it gives us a safe space to read about these things. I've read about all kinds of kinks that after reading it, I'm like, nope, not into that. Or different lifestyles. I was like, man, that was so much fun reading. I couldn't imagine doing it myself. And I think that if someone's writing about not just being queer, but if someone's writing about a different lifestyle from theirs, a different, like maybe they're writing about being rich or being poor, or they're writing about being a certain nationality or living in a certain area. Maybe they're just taking a second to explore that identity or that lifestyle within themselves without actually stepping out there to live it themselves, because they don't need to live it themselves. And it all comes back to intent. And I think it all comes back to how you're portraying the material and if you're doing it in a respectful manner. Now it's time for casting. And I want to say about casting. Again, I did the casting. I did everything before I decided to watch the show. I didn't even look at the cover of the show. I was like totally unspoiled. I'm going to pick who I would want to pick and then go for it. All right. My Shane was Darren Barnett. He was in Never Have I Ever. He's a gorgeous half Asian man. And I thought he would be fabulous. I thought he would kill it. He's very handsome, but he still looks athletic. And yeah, I thought he would be a great Shane. And then for Ilya, I picked Jake Picking. And I was like, if we just kind of made sure he was really brunette, it would be perfect. He played Rock Hudson in Hollywood. But as soon as I started watching the show, I was like, fuck it. They killed it. Their casting beat mine. It took me until the end of the show for me to admit that their Shane beat mine, because I was holding on to my pick. But from minute dot, I was like, okay, they beat me on Ilya. Their Shane was Hudson Williams, and their Ilya was Connor Story. Both are newer actors. And I mean, their Ilya was so spot on perfect. There was like, as soon as I saw him, there was no other Ilya for me. I was like, oh, from the first few minutes of the show, I was like, okay, there Ilya won. I mean, my God, what a great pick. Bravo, okay? But it did take me towards the end of the series for me to decide that I liked their Shane pick over mine, because theirs seemed just a little too uptight. And I didn't think Shane read as quite that uptight. But I mean, this is why I don't make movies. I have to admit, they beat me. They beat me this time. We'll see what happens next time one of the books I'll review becomes a show. I'd like to win one. So we'll see. I'm giving this book 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was fun. My God, I got the feels. I teared up a little bit. I laughed out loud. It made me blush. I mean, I was like, my God, the spice is a 4. And I mean, I'm serious. I was blushing. I had to step out of the room once or twice. I was like, don't look at me while I read this. It was so good. It was so good. And I will be reading other books in this series. And I think they're going to do a season 2 of the show. And bet your ass I'll be watching that too, because I'm obsessed with that show. I'm so invested with these characters now that it's ridiculous. So I could see why it's so popular. I need to know what y'all think. Tell me what y'all think. Did you like the book better? Did you like the show better? Tell me, their casting was perfect. It was so perfect. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook at Book Tease Pod. You can also find each episode on YouTube at Book Tease Pod. Theme music is by The Scraps, and until next time, stay spicy. Baby.